Today is Tuesday, May 16th. We are talking about a new report that's been years in the making, why it's criticizing the FBI for investigating the 2016 Trump campaign. Also, a congressman's staffers attacked. And top leaders in Washington weigh in on debt limit negotiations that are getting down to the wire. Plus, new technology meant to enhance security at U.S. airports. Another first for a streaming service when it comes to live sports. And how a Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover star is making history. Those stories and more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. The FBI is facing some serious criticism now over its investigation into the Trump campaign's ties to Russia. For 4 years now, a special counsel has been looking into the FBI's reasons for launching that investigation. And this week, the final report came out. In it, special counsel John Durham says the decision to open the investigation was rushed and different from how the FBI treated other intelligence matters. He also found American law enforcement did not actually have enough evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia to warrant such a response, and that officials were too reliant on leads from the Trump's political opponents and did not vigorously analyze the information. He says the FBI had some confirmation bias, wanting to keep investigating Trump even when things did not really add up. To be clear, this special counsel's report is about the same FBI investigation that ultimately led to special counsel Robert Mueller being appointed. Durham says his findings now do not invalidate what Mueller found then. And keep in mind, neither report uncovered a government-wide conspiracy against Trump. Durham did not recommend any major policy changes, and his investigation did not result in criminal charges against senior members of the Obama administration, like former President Trump expected it would. Throughout the course of Durham's investigation, he did bring charges against one former FBI lawyer who pleaded guilty to altering an email and got probation, as well as a Clinton-linked lawyer and a Russian consultant, though they were both acquitted at their trials. In response to the new special counsel's report, the FBI says it has already made reforms that will prevent the same missteps from happening again. Police are investigating another attack in a string of violent incidents targeting lawmakers. Police say a man walked into Congressman Jerry Connolly's Virginia office yesterday, asked for him, then attacked two staffers with a metal baseball bat, including an intern on her first day on the job. Both staffers had to go to the hospital, but thankfully are now expected to be okay. And the suspect is in police custody. Authorities haven't said what motivated this attacker, but Congressman Connolly says it's possible a toxic political environment set the man off. And now the congressman says, quote, "I would just hope all of us would take a little more time to be careful about what we say and how we say it." Threats to lawmakers and their families have increased quite a bit in the last couple of years. The U.S. Capitol Police investigated about 7,500 cases of political threats against members of Congress last year. Today, congressional leaders are going back to the White House to talk about the debt ceiling with President Biden. The president says he thinks he will be able to reach a deal with Republicans to raise or suspend the debt limit in time to avoid a default. But Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is not quite so optimistic, saying there's been no progress in the negotiations. The Wall Street Journal cites sources who say negotiators have started haggling over possible spending caps. Either way, the pressure is on to make a deal and fast. In an updated forecast, the U.S. Treasury again warned the U.S. government could run out of money by as early as June 1st. So now lawmakers are reportedly fielding calls from bank executives and other business leaders worried about the potential of a default. Economists say if no deal is reached, the U.S. credit rating would be downgraded, the dollar would be put in jeopardy, and the cost of debt would rise. And those would be just a few of the potential consequences. The U.S. House and Senate are only scheduled to be in session at the same time for one more week this month. So both sides say they're hoping to make a deal by Friday. Some of the biggest airports across the country are getting some upgrades that are supposed to speed up and enhance the security process. We're talking about updated facial recognition technology that's now available at 16 airports around the U.S. With it, TSA officers don't need to scan identification or make sure the person in front of them is the same person on the ID. Instead, a traveler can scan their own, then look into a camera, and the facial recognition software will do the verification, clearing the way for them to proceed through the security checkpoint as normal. But critics have raised concerns about how data is collected with any facial recognition technology, who has access to it, and what happens if it gets hacked. Also, whether it will work well on minorities, since other facial recognition tech has shown errors and bias. Though TSA says the goal is to make the ID verification process more accurate and that the technology has been doing well so far. It also says all the data from photos and IDs is deleted, and even then, using the tech is voluntary. For now, this is just a pilot program, but if things go well, it could go nationwide. All right, we have more news still coming up. But first, this episode is sponsored by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. And my new favorite thing to get from HelloFresh is the Fast and Fresh meal plan. These meals are ready in just about 15 minutes, and they are quick yet delicious and homemade meals for busy weeknights. We recently made Parmesan chive chicken and potatoes with mixed greens and honey Dijon dressing. And while I was dicing up the chives for this meal, I realized I would probably not buy chives myself because I just don't have that kind of time to meal plan so extensively and scour the grocery store for that one ingredient that I don't usually buy. Instead, I appreciate that HelloFresh takes away all that hassle by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients. So I have exactly what I need, and it gives my whole family a taste of the kind of food and seasonings that I might not otherwise buy. I also love that it cuts down on food waste. And by the way, Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh, so no matter what you do, there's something for everyone. So go to HelloFresh.com/newsworthy16 and use code newsworthy16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. Again, go to HelloFresh.com/newsworthy16 and use that code newsworthy16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. Two big tech companies are celebrating a rare victory in Europe. European Union regulators approved Microsoft's $69 billion deal to acquire video game giant Activision Blizzard. A big step forward in what could end up being the largest tech merger of all time. That said, there are uphill battles ahead for Microsoft and Activision. American and British regulators are still trying to block the deal over worries it could hurt competition in the industry. And for the deal to go through, Microsoft and Activision need approval from all three: the US, UK, and EU. The EU gave the okay because of a specific commitment from Microsoft. If the deal goes through, the company now promises to license popular Activision games for free to cloud streaming providers. In other words, you would not have to buy Microsoft's Xbox console to play games like Call of Duty and World of Warcraft. An Activision CEO says the latest decision will help the teams grow the gaming industry and make it even more accessible. But even after the EU signed off, the UK says it stands by its decision not to, arguing that even under the new terms, Microsoft would have too much power over the market, and there's too much it could do if it wanted to stifle the competition. So far, no comment from American regulators, but they are expected to appear in court about the deal in a few months. What was once one of the most highly valued media startups on the internet is now bankrupt. Vice Media Group filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy yesterday. And this is a big turnaround, since at its peak 6 years ago, Vice was valued at $5.7 billion. High-profile private investment groups and major TV companies like Fox, A&E, and Disney pumped money into Vice during its rise in the mid-2010s. Now, their massive investments will be wiped out. A separate investment group has agreed to buy out Vice's assets for $225 million, unless another bidder is willing to pay more. As for what happened, the New York Times reports Vice was like others in the digital media industry, betting big on the rising power of social media to bring readers to their platforms. The new media companies did gain a following, but they had trouble translating that into profit. You'll remember last month, BuzzFeed shut down its news division, and Vox Media earlier this year raised money at roughly half of its 2015 valuation. As for Vice, it says it should emerge from the bankruptcy process in 2 or 3 months, and its media brands like Vice News, Vice TV, Virtue, and Refinery29 will keep producing content. It's a big milestone in streaming. For the first time, the NFL has decided to put one of its playoff games exclusively on a digital platform. The Saturday Night Football game on Wild Card Weekend in January will be on NBC's streaming service, Peacock. It will also be available on NBC stations in the markets of the two teams and on mobile devices through the NFL Plus package. But for a lot of people, Peacock will be the only place to see it, with a subscription that starts at $5 a month. Peacock already has a weekly Major League Baseball game, WWE's premium live events, and English Premier League soccer games. The world's biggest film festival is rolling out the red carpet this week. The Cannes Film Festival kicks off today with debut screenings, press conferences, and glamorous parties with big stars. Among those expected there this year include Leonardo DiCaprio, Natalie Portman, Harrison Ford, and Brie Larson. plus big-name directors like Martin Scorsese, Wes Anderson, and Quentin Tarantino. The whole thing ends with a big prize for outstanding filmmaking that in the past has gone to movies like Taxi Driver, Pulp Fiction, and Parasite. And this year, the competition is expected to be pretty tough. The festival runs through next Saturday, May 27th. Over the years, Martha Stewart has been on the cover of Good Housekeeping, Newsweek, and her own magazine, Martha Stewart Living. But what about the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue? Well, it's happening now. At 81 years old, the culinary icon is one of this year's 4 Sports Illustrated cover models, and it makes her the oldest Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover model ever. In an interview, Stewart said she's typically motivated by pay when deciding what projects to take on. But for this cover, she was apparently motivated to show people that a woman her age can still look and feel good. Overall, Sports Illustrated is highlighting 28 women this year. Other cover models include singer Kim Petras, actress Megan Fox, and model Brooks Nader. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, I want to tell you about our sponsor. Some habits can be hard to stick to, but have you ever had the ones that you start to crave because they just make you feel better? That's what AG1 from Athletic Greens has become for me. I wanted boosted energy, better gut health, and a way to get a wide variety of nutrients. And now I get all of that with AG1. In fact, it now feels like an easy little something that I do just for myself each morning. It's 1 scoop of powder mixed with water. I also like to put in ice and a splash of lemon juice. And very quickly, I noticed that it helps me with improved digestion, morning hydration, and just an overall feeling that I'm ready to start the day. AG1 is made from 75 of the highest quality whole food sourced ingredients from around the world, intentionally curated for their ability to nourish all of the body's systems in harmony. So if you are looking for a simpler and cost-effective supplement routine, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/newsworthy. That's athleticgreens.com/newsworthy. Check it out. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. Today's trivia question is, how fast does Mount Everest grow? You can play along with us in our weekly roundup email that comes out every Friday. Simply sign up to get it at thenewsworthy.com/email or find the link in today's episode notes. As for last week's trivia question, which famous criminal wrote love songs while he was an inmate at Alcatraz? The answer is Al Capone. This might come as a surprise since Capone is mostly known as being a ruthless, organized crime boss who ran an Italian-American mob for several years. By some estimates, Capone was responsible for more than 200 murders. But while he was in prison, he apparently embraced his softer side. Capone reportedly spent most of his time playing banjo in the prison band and writing love songs, many of which are said to be tributes to his wife, May Capone. Now, decades later, a few people have actually recorded his songs, including musician Jack White and members of an Al Capone fan club. All right, thank you so much for listening today. New episodes come out every weekday morning by 4 a.m. All right, we'll be back with another news roundup tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.